time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction, where they are always hiring. All the time, they are hiring. So if you are looking for work, look no further than the Sandman's crew over at GS Construction. You can visit their page at indeed.ca or just go to gsconstruction.ca, scroll on down, and click ready to work. Gage, are you ready to work?
Yeah, I was thinking of maybe applying at GS too. Why not?
Maybe they give you a little office area where you can also do some of your financial advising stuff.
Just throw me a shovel too once in a while. I'll go dig a hole.
You'll do anything. You know, that's a good teammate, guy. That's a good teammate right there. Take your career to the next level at GS Construction. Cass, how are you doing, buddy?
I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing good. I mean, the world hasn't ended. The sun came up today. So I think I'm okay. I'm in striking distance in our F1 pool. Still hanging around. Trying to...
Is that Barry guy still running away with the F1 pool?
He's we're going to reel that guy in, though.
Yeah. Still trying to reel him in. But I'm good. Just recovering from all the
I was post-game.
Skinner scapegoat syndromites just instantly coming out of the woodwork. Like they've been non-existent.
They've been waiting.
Weeks. They've been waiting. They have been waiting. And my running joke, which I think I copied and pasted and said it multiple times in the nasty chat yesterday, and I even got it in once on air, was that, if Pickard would have started this game instead of Skinner, the Oilers not only would have won 9-0 with Pickard scoring 3 of the goals, he would have made a glove save in which his glove hand moved so fast and he moved so quickly laterally that he actually went back in time and made the save that the Oilers needed in game 2, and the Oilers would actually be up 3-0 in the series. That's where we're at with the people that are blaming.
And of course,
Pickard.
Those were with capital letters in the chat last night.
Oh, the Oilers are, people are blaming Skinner for that loss yesterday. Is like the most asinine thing I've ever seen. They lost their composure, and people in Edmonton are kind of losing their composure too. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch your show this morning, Dustin, but I can imagine that it was
pretty doom and gloomy, more so than I thought for a team that's only down 2-1. Right, because they're only down 2-1. Like last night's game was a disaster. But I'd almost rather that than, the Oilers played really well again and haven't beat the Panthers in 2 games. Like, they were awful last night. From start to finish, everybody.
Yeah, I watched a little bit more, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I thought about this, that how would I rather lose the game?
Okay.
Right? And so I would think losing it like that is better than losing a 2-1 overtime game.
I 100% agree.
Because you're in it and you're so close. You knew you weren't even close, but like they looked like they had moved on to game 4.
When Bennett scored that breakaway goal, it was like done.
With it. Yeah, so that's I would rather lose that way because you know what? We have so much better than that. That's not us as a team. So I take that away. But on the other side, watching Bennett, that hit on Podkolzin, and then to the move on the breakaway. Like,
does that shift not define his playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's not that he needs to put tape out to other teams, but if you're putting together a highlight that you're a high school running back and you're putting together your game film to send out to universities, just put that 20-second stretch in there, right, Cass? Like,
yep. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Like, oof. He, pretty dominant in that. I mean, we're going to assume the Oilers come back and win the series. But
let's just stay on Bennett for a second. Yeah. Go ahead, Gage. I kind of interrupted you.
I just the first thing that went through my mind on that shift. I go, gosh, it looks like this is 30 years ago, and he's wearing number 11. Like he's being a modern day Mark Messier,
dude. You're the first person I had heard say that, but.
Hey,
you're not far off.
This is the dog walk. That's what came
was that dog walk thoughts?
That was dog walk thoughts.
I knew it.
Yeah, I was like, is Sam Bennett the modern day Mark Messier right now? And I'm trying to think of other players. No one comes close. No one has that complete disregard for human life and backs it up and strikes fear into their opponents in today's game, like Sam Bennett.
A modern day type of player.
It's not the same. I'm not saying, but he's the modern day Moose.
Blows up Podkolzin, continues on to make another hit along the boards.
2 hits.
Turns around. His own teammate has a breakaway, and he's just like, boom, gone, give it to me. And how are you not putting it on that dude's stick?
And he put Skinner in the corner.
Like that wasn't like, oh, Skinner should have put, that was just a sick move.
Yeah. Right? He gave him the stunner.
Come on. He's a freak.
He is.
I was going to say, without, in your guys' mind, if Florida goes on to win, Conn Smythe, without question, undisputed, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I heard maybe in the postgame last night they were talking about it a little bit and try to make it. It's 100% Bennett.
Yeah.
I mean, if he continues to play, let's say Florida wins this thing in 6 or something, and Bobrovsky doesn't have to steal 2.
Yeah.
It might be a unanimous Sam Bennett vote, honestly. Like, that's how good he's been. He's got 14 goals in 20 games. And he hits everything that moves, and he gets under the skin of the other team, and he's done it every round.
He's playing so good that you might even think about it if the Oilers win.
There's just no chance that would happen.
They won't do that 2 years in a row. But he's a special player.
He's the betting favorite right now to win the Conn Smythe. He's the odds-on favorite. And it's deserved. I mean, he's been, I mean, Oilers fans must hate that guy right now.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely hate that guy.
So, they were no good from start to finish last night. We've got lots to get to. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com or you're watching over on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, obviously hit us up in the chat. And if you're on the stream, you can text us 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Gordon McDowell over in the chat says, people are forgetting the most important thing after that Game 3 loss was that Matt Kassian has fixed his longtime home computer issues and no longer freezes up or shows as a question mark from the Riddler.
You know what? I fixed those a while ago. I fixed them a while ago, and then we had like a one-off night, and I don't know if it was my connection or not, like where it was like every 10 seconds it was freezing, and it would be any time they put the video up. So it's like they would go to put, it'd be fine. Like I'd be in there sitting, waiting to join in there. I can see myself, everything's clean, everything's smooth. And then right when Hernan would pull it up and like pop me into there, it just would freeze. And like the entire browser would freeze and just shut down and, reboot the internet, reboot the browser, reboot the computer, and nothing worked until I just quit that night. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. But it does seem to have stabilized, which is a good thing. It's fun, but means that there's less things for people to make fun of me over. And I take a lot of heat on the postgame show for sure.
I pointed out last night on the postgame show, I said, a very positive note here. Cass's connection has been absolutely outstanding tonight. So that's a good one. And postgame show was straight fire, obviously, again, last night. We'll work our way towards the third period because there's a lot to discuss from the third period. But Gager, actually, Cass mentioned it. Obviously, as soon as the game ends, it's like, Skinner. The whole team was garbage. But what was going on in that first goal? That was bizarre.
Yeah, to me it was not a lot of confidence, and that can happen at the beginning of the game. But he was swimming, and when Stuart Skinner's moving that much, something's wrong. Because in his good games, his movements are so refined and easy. He's a blocking style goaltender, and there's just subtle movements. But he was, it looked like he was trying to move like Bobrovsky, and there's some things you just can't do that other guys can do. And you saw it. He ends up on his stomach somehow trying to get out, and I think that play kind of took away from his confidence moving forward because you look at where his positioning was, and I think he was trying to get to the top of the crease, but those two goals that went like shelf short side, great shots, but he's back in the blue paint again. And that's, I think,
pretty sick night by Verhaeghe.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying, but when you look at his position, and I don't know if he would have stopped it anyways, but he didn't give him the best chance with his style of play to not get to the top of the crease. Like,
So like a foot and a half too deep type of thing?
Yeah. You look at his feet and I think that was because of the first goal where he tried to move one way but he came out aggressively to challenge, but then it went back and he didn't find it. And then he flailed around out there. And I think that ruined a little bit of his confidence. And he decided that, you know what, I got to stay a little bit further back. So if this happens again, I have the ability to move a little bit more. But because you look at Bobrovsky at the other end, I think it was in the third period, Nurse had a good chance to score. Bobrovsky's deep in his net, and his ability to get to the top of the crease is absolutely elite. And I mean, he makes a weird save, but he was there. He moved all out and took the net away from Darnell Nurse's shot, and it's just the type of goalie he is. Stuart Skinner's not that guy.
I feel so much of that confidence is because of the way the team was playing in front of him too. Like, I think that factors into it, because even on that first goal, like that shouldn't have been an opportunity for Marchand on goal number 1 at that point, right? Like, Klingberg completely loses him.
Yeah. There was a weird scramble around the net for sure.
Just abandons him. Like, it was a weird scramble, and I think his push out there is to. He thinks the puck's coming immediately. He's like, this guy's going to fire it. Marchand's going to fire it immediately because Klingberg's going to get there. Somebody's going to get there. There's like 3 white bodies in front of me. Somebody's going to be getting there. So Marchand isn't going to have, half a second to stick handle this puck, step to the side and fire it. And then, the falling forward is just a last-ditch effort. And I think, after that play, to me, it reflected in his play where he, and right or wrong, whether he should have had confidence or should not have had confidence, he lost confidence maybe a little bit in himself and reading the plays, but also just in the team and the defenseman in front of him clearing pucks, which just forces you back in your net. As you already mentioned, you're not like Bobrovsky, who's just, and he's more aggressive than most goalies, right? Bobrovsky's he's out of the crease a lot. Like, he plays pretty aggressive, but he has the defensemen that help him back that up, right? Like, they help clear pucks, and so there's nothing, sitting backdoor loose change on him. But tough first one, and there were a few. I mean, it wasn't like Stuart Skinner was fantastic, but wasn't Stuart Skinner's fault that they had no composure and took 80 million penalties in the first period, and completely snapped when Klingberg bumped into the ref.
Yeah, that was a tough look. I mean, you're being pressured by Barkov, and you've fallen to the referee, and then it's in the back of the net before you know it. What do you think of Kane in the first period?
I understand it, but it was a little bit too much, right? He saw what Florida was doing in the first period in game 2. I think what he was trying to kind of assert himself physically in the same manner. But to me, I like when Evander Kane is just crushing guys, like just on the forecheck, banging. Yeah, and none of the stick checks. They got to stop. Like, those are, you got to control your stick. Enough's enough with that. But I think he got pulled into that style of play too, which he can play, but not to the detriment of your team. Right? You can't be taking penalties. I think that's been the one thing that going into this series is they must have talked about. So we cannot, our PK, they wouldn't say our PK sucks, but we got to limit if we're going to take a penalty, it has to be a good one. Like, has to be a really good hit or taking away a goal. It can't be any of the nickel and dime retaliation, offensive zone stick penalties. Those will kill you. Those will just kill you.
Yeah, those ones are just unnecessary, right, Cass? Like, you can't, in the playoffs, you can't be giving them power play opportunities 200 feet from your net. No, you just can't.
Well, especially when your penalty kill has struggled as much as it has.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't. You can't. Veteran guys, you cannot do that. You can't. Like, you break a guy's stick, you slash a guy when he's got a tap in front of your net, fine. You take a slashing call and you force a guy in a breakaway to have a bad shot.
Those are the goal-saving penalties. Those are where you need to take.
Yeah,
you take those ones all day.
If you get a chance to hit their skill, with a good hard check, maybe it's a Mississippi or too late, But
that's fine. That's a hard penalty. That's not like a high sticking or hooking when you're in the offensive zone. Yeah. Completely different.
This just moving from NHL Department of Player Safety. Wallman got two $5,000 fines from last night's game. Gager, do you know what they are?
No.
You want to guess? You want to guess what they are? Cass, you want to guess what they are?
One unsportsmanlike. It's got to be like a
for squirting the bench.
Oh,
You got 5,000 for squirting the bench.
5,000.
Yeah.
And then
and the other one, would it be abuse of officials?
no, it was he got $5,000 fine for punching Kachuk when Kachuk was being held there. I think that's what it is.
Are you serious?
Which it says Edmonton's
That's
Jake
a
Wallman
joke.
has been fined $5,000, the maximal allowable under the CBA for roughing Florida's Matthew Kachuk. That has to be when Kachuk was held and Wallman popped him.
Yeah.
But that happens all the time.
That happens all the time.
That happens
Give
all
me a
the time.
break.
The
Give me
whole
a break,
5,000 for
Lee.
squirting the water with bench or the bench with water. I mean, it is that. It's
fine.
kind of
That's an
ridiculous.
automatic. That's
yeah,
fine.
it's an automatic.
But that's an automatic. Like, they'll do it every time. That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, which is fine.
But they also, so here's the question. Did, who is it that threw the glove into the Florida's bench?
I can't
glove.
remember.
I can't remember who it was, but why, did they get the maximum fine? Because that's the same sort of thing. Like, you take a guy's equipment and you throw it into your own bench intentionally on purpose.
Yeah, like stupid, petty little
is what
stuff
it
like
is.
that, right? That's 5,000.
Should that not be a $5,000 fine too? Where was that, NHL? It's a joke.
It's funny because the official Twitter account, if it's just a bunch of $5,000 fines in the playoffs, like they refuse to suspend.
Oh, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
$5,000 fine for this, $5,000
Yeah.
fine for that. That's like their last few tweets. I'm just going back to look at this Wallman punch on Kachuk and try to figure out why. I mean, he's being held by Klingberg and he gets punched in the head by Kachuk. I mean, I don't know why that's different than any other time there's a scrum and somebody's got some guy in his arm here and come over here and another guy,
It's
you know,
so
like
ticky
that's-
tack. Like, really? That's what you're.
I don't know. Like, I think that's kind of it's $5,000. It's not like he's suspended or anything, but I just think that's pretty weak when you look at what happens in the playoffs. Like,
It's really weak.
Well, especially like Kachuk should have like 80 minors for high sticking because he keeps hitting people in the face with his stick when it's.
During the scrums.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this is Kachuk getting under the skin. You know, he's doing his job. Guys are thinking more about how am I going to hurt this guy than winning the hockey game. Yeah, it's nothing. It's
I mean, there's nothing there
There's
that doesn't
nothing
happen
there.
every time there's a scrum in the National Hockey League playoffs. Like, come on.
So here's a question for you, even in light of those fines in mind, because this is something that I've started to hear and people are chittering about, and around the office, people are starting to talk about this sort of thing. If you go to Evander Kane's comments after the game yesterday, where he talks about, they basically, to summarize and paraphrase that.
Do you
Florida's
want those
getting away
comments?
with
We can
way
play them if
more.
you want, Cass. Is this a good
We
talking
play
point?
'em?
Hey,
Sure,
boys.
this is a great talking point.
Hey, can somebody come
Spit
load
'em
up the Kane availability from last night? I think the boys saved it somewhere, and we'll play this because
We'll have it. So then we'll get into it. So I'll leave it for that. I'll leave it for that. But here's maybe a question then for you guys. When was the first moment, aside from the Kane taking the penalties, when was the first moment in that game yesterday where you both realized that the Florida Panthers were just completely tipped Edmonton over the edge mentally?
Oh, like mentally. Oh, good question, Cass.
tough for me because I didn't.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, you missed part of it, right? You didn't watch start to finish. I mean, had that happened in the first 40 minutes?
I would say it was, to me, just from what I watched, it was the Klingberg thing. Because they were yelling and screaming and it was.
So just as a team there,
As
when
a team-
Klingberg hit the official and then the puck got
they
turned over?
yeah,
And that was a minute and 20 seconds left, or a minute and 20 seconds after Perry scored to make it 2-1.
Yeah, right then. Because they were more worried about everything else that happened, and they just looked completely disheveled at that point.
Yeah, Cass, would you say that is that, or would you wait till we'll get to the third after we play Kane's comments? But where would you say that window was?
That was it for me. And Tommy thought it was the Evander Kane penalties, like taking the second penalty in particular, I think. But for me, it was that play, like just seeing their reaction to it, because it wasn't like a reaction of like, well, that was bad, but screw that guy, screw those guys, we're fine. Like we're gonna fight our way through this, and we're gonna be okay. It was just like a flabbergasted, frazzled, falling apart sort of reaction from everybody. And I think it's a buildup. Like there's a buildup. You have interference calls on Edmonton where like, oh, that wasn't called on Florida. You have, and the thing with Klingberg is that's the second time it's happened this series, and almost an identical play. And I don't know if it was Barkov that was forechecking in one of the other games. In game 2, it was actually where similar play, like same corner, pivoted up the wall to step up the wall, and the referee was right there, and he ran into the official. Now, then the puck was turned over. It didn't materialize into a chance against, but that's the second time this series that the official has been in the way that Klingberg has run into them. And so I think that added to it. But to me, that was like the moment of breaking, where it's like they scored that goal. They were losing it on the officials. They were losing it on Lord knows what. And they just mentally couldn't recover after that point. Like they just fell apart after that. There's, and I know the rough stuff doesn't happen until later. But that to me was like the moment where it just, they went from not playing great to just being completely broken for the night.
Okay, here is Evander Kane. Zach and Benny got it ready for us. Here's what Evander Kane had to say after the game last night.
And early penalties, your team didn't quite look ready to go tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, both teams took 4 penalties in the first period. They had a 2-0 lead, and obviously not the start you want on the road.
Did they get under your skin? Did they drive you guys off your game?
No, I don't think so. I think, the game obviously got out of hand at the end there. That stuff is going to happen. I mean, you look at some of the calls and whatnot. Obviously, some of them are frustrating. They seem to get away with it more than we do.
Why are they frustrating?
They seem to get away with it more than we do. I mean, it's tough to find the line. They're doing just as much stuff as we are. It was 4-4 at the end of it, and then it gets out of hand, and there seems to be a little bit more attention in our group.
Vander, does that style of play kind of suit that better? Like if you get to your game a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, look, we didn't play very well. That's evident. We have nobody to blame by ourselves, but we can definitely be a lot better.
Evander, penalties on such a side, seemed like you guys never really got to your game tonight. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of it is the amount of special teams. I don't know how many minutes there were 5-on-5 in the first period, even the second maybe, I'm not sure. Obviously we make it a 1-goal game. Paris makes a nice play, and then we give it right back. So that's tough, and didn't have the third period. Just it is what it is.
Things have been sailing for you guys pretty well since game 2 against LA. Is this kind of a low point, and how do you kind of recover?
Yeah, I mean, look, we could have lost 3-2 in triple overtime, and the series is 2-1. So, how you lose in the playoffs really doesn't matter as much than it might in the regular season. We have a shot to get a split here on Thursday, and that's the focus at this point.
Evander, what do you look at? I mean, penalties aside, what do you look at you need to clean up here to do what you want to do?
Well, I think we were a little disconnected, especially through the neutral zone, from our end to the neutral zone. I think if we can be a little cleaner there and have a little bit more possession, come in unison, which will create better forechecks and easier to hold on to pucks and turn pucks over in the O zone. So I think if we can do a bit better job of that, that should help our game.
Is that partially their pressure? Did it get to you guys a little bit tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if it got to us tonight. We know they pressure. We know they pinch down on the wall. I think it's just about trying to execute the right game plan against that to counteract it.
You hear a lot in the regular season about watching this type of game away. Is that harder to do in the playoffs? Is that still something that you try to do?
Look, it's losing in the playoffs, whether it's in round one, game one, or the Stanley Cup final. It's never a good feeling. But we've been here before. We've been down in series before, and we've had tough losses. So it's it'll sting right now, and we'll flush it tomorrow and get ready for Thursday.
All right, there you go. So that's what Evander Kane had to say. I mean, the one thing we talked about is they get away with it more than we do. Gage, your thoughts on that?
I liked what he said. And sometimes maybe that was the feeling, right? They felt that the other team was getting away with more than they were, and that was the reason they lost their discipline in that game. It comes down to discipline is the final thing. The other thing I was thinking about, because game 2 was the physicality and the emotion was cranked really high.
Yeah.
And you saw the refs kind of, they called some penalties early on that weren't penalties later on in the game. That's whatever.
Same thing happened last night. There was 8 penalties in the first period.
I know, but how influenced are the refs that the crew that's not working watch game 2, see how game 2 transpires? Oh, okay. Well, these guys will be fired up. Let's call some penalties in the first, calm it down, and hopefully it goes from there. But you heard a lot of people and Oilers players saying that, you just have so many penalties. It's hard to get in that flow. And I can't say for sure what the refs were thinking. It just seems like, and I wish it would happen, just call the game the same way through the whole
start
time.
to finish. Yeah.
Start to finich, because
I remember there was one power play that the Oilers got in the first period. There was a couple of guys at Boston Pizza last night who were like furious with that call. They're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Now they're going to call that. They're going to call that later on. And that one ended up being a power play for the Oilers. Like,
so it's like, it's got to be frustrating, but it's part of the game. Like, and you can't let that affect your play. Like, that's just how it is. Evander Kane said it. The one line that he said that really stuck out to me was, it's very hard to find the line, right? And there's a guy that plays on that line most of it, and it's you don't know what it is minute to minute, period to period, shift to shift.
Cass, your thoughts on Kane and the conversation that you wanted to come from it, and anything that Gager just said?
Yeah. Well, he is just a liar off the start, or lying to himself. Maybe he probably believes it, so he's lying to himself intentionally. So, which is okay. About that the Florida Panthers weren't under the skin of the Edmonton Oilers. They absolutely were under the skin of the Edmonton Oilers, and it's heightened by the way that it's officiated, which is kind of what his comments were. And if you and we don't need to run Knobloch's comments too, but he makes a very tongue-in-cheek comment about
the too many men,
Macaulay and Sharon and the too many men. Yeah. Like they refed a great game, and they even caught the too many men penalty, which was obviously a tongue-in-cheek to, they got this one and they didn't get the blatant one in overtime. But that's the consistency, right? Where it's not consistent, and they're seeing things like the Arvidsson call on goalie interference, where it's like with Bennett, one of them times he bumps Stuart Skinner, he gets the call, but the other times he's not, and it's been like they bumped him a whole bunch of times. And what's a penalty in game or period 1 isn't a penalty in period 3, and even on the backbreaking goal, the Klingberg goal, it's like it's pretty clear that Barkov freehands and holds him, grabs his hip, and pulls him. And the official, and I can't remember which one it was, if it was Francis or if it was Wes Macaulay, but it was right there, like staring right at it, and doesn't make the call.
I mean, they ran into him.
And he's falling down because he gets grabbed on the hip by Barkov. Yeah. He got turned around and spun around because of the pressure on the hip. So it's incredibly frustrating. The onus ultimately is still on the Oilers to play through that and to not get flabbergasted as much as they did by it. But I guess where I wanted to go with that Kane clip, and the reason why I wanted to play it again for people that hadn't heard it, I thought it was good to hear. But knowing that it's a combination, because I would even through that, to me, it's like, I know he said it wasn't that the Florida Panthers are underneath the skin of the Edmonton Oilers, but it is, or at least that's part of it. Knowing that it's both the officials and the Florida Panthers, like it's both. It's how Florida Panthers they play, as well as the calls the officials have been making that have gotten under the skin of the Edmonton Oilers, how do you flush that? Like, how do you say that, okay, we're just not going to care about this anymore? Because you can do it. I mean, moment to moment, I believe game to game is different. You can completely flush it. But for a team that just got so fed up with it, that they just completely mentally broke in the Stanley Cup final, how do you move on from that when it's not just the Florida Panthers? It's the Florida Panthers and the officials that are in the heads of the Edmonton Oilers.
Gager, how
it's so hard, man. I remember just when I first went over to Europe and played, and the reffing over there, you think it's bad here. Oh my gosh. And it gets so frustrating because it does. It has that feeling, Cass, of not only are you playing against a good team, you're also fighting against the refs as well. And it comes down to, I would say, if the Oilers were a younger team, I would think they would have a more difficult time just being younger, experience factor. But Edmonton Oilers are an old team. This isn't the first time this has happened where you felt like the world's against you in a playoff series, and even the refs and everything. Like, you have to be mature enough and be professional enough to, like you said, flush it, right? There's nothing you can do. Control what that old adage, control what you can control. You can't control what the refs are doing. All you can do is make sure that you're taking care of your business as a team, not just an individual, as a team, to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And where this is, I think I was listening to, I forget who it was. Oh, it was Stuart Skinner saying there was a lot of discussions after the game in groups of players. Like Leon, I guess, said some things after the game, and almost like everyone had breakout groups and was having little chats about the game. I'm sure this came up, right, amongst us. So we can't let the refs affect the way we play. Like, they're smart, intelligent enough to know that was one of the reasons for this collapse of their game yesterday. So I've had coaches always say, don't even talk to the refs, guys. Let me talk to them. Everyone else, unless I ask like our captains to go have a specific issue, we do not talk to the refs at all, right? Because the last thing you want to do is infuriate them to the point where they start calling you because they're mad at you too.
It's the officiating. I mean, I'm kind of sick and tired of talking about it every single playoff, whether the Oilers are involved or not. Like, every single time we get to the playoffs, and especially the Cup final, it's the same thing. And last night on Twitter, after that first period, I put out a GIF of Napoleon Dynamite putting the tots in his pocket. I said, officials with their whistles going into the second period. Like, we've called our penalties. Yeah. Our job's done here. And then the next 18 minutes, there was no penalty called until the cross-check from Nurse in the corner. Yeah. And then I said, power plays in the third period, knowing how things are officiated, it'll probably be 1-1. But maybe it'll be 2-1 for the Oilers because they're trailing. Mm-hmm. And it was 1-1. Like, the delay of the game, you're not going to call that. I'm not counting that. Then there was 2 penalties called, the Janmark roughing call, and then Marchand got one. And then after that, it was all the fighting and all the ridiculous 10s and stuff. But that's, like, it's so sad to sit here as fans of the sport and watch come playoff time where there's going to be probably 4 to 5 penalties in the first period, probably none or maybe 1 in the second, and then they'll try to even it out a little bit in the third. That's not how you're supposed to officiate a bloody hockey game. I mean, this is why
I would love to hear them talk afterwards. And this is another thing. Like, you have these 2 groups. You can't tell me that last night's group wasn't influenced from the game prior, because it was a good game. So the blueprint was call a bunch early and let them figure it out later. And we won't call anything. And we won't influence the end of the game. But it's so wrong.
How do you operate a sport where you go, we're going to call the rule book this way early? Yeah. Then we'll call the rule book like this later. Like, you can't.
It's like there's a first period rule book, and then.
And I think that's part of the whole, it's tough to know where the line is as you work your way through the game, right?
Yeah.
And it's, once, like, I don't think, I mean, the missed call on Barkov that led to goal, that's a big moment. And the clear too many men in overtime where they're too scared to make the call, but that's a penalty Over the glass, they have to call it. Too many men's pretty easy to see.
Especially when it influenced a goal. Like I could, if that happened and the play was on the other side of the ice, fine. But the Edmonton player had to change his course because there was a guy in the way.
Well, and the guy who just came off shouldn't be in the play until that guy's off. So
whatever.
I mean, botch call. Look, but they played like garbage last night anyway.
They played terrible.
They played like garbage. So Cass, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much trouble do you think the Oilers are in being down 2-1?
I mean, they were down 2-0 against LA. And they played 2 games where they didn't play very good in that series there. So I don't know. What is it? You're in a little trouble. I don't want to say you're not in any kind of trouble because you're down in the series. So yes, there's more trouble. If you're down in the series, it becomes less likely that you're going to win the series. If I have to scale it on a level of 1 to 10, I'm going to go 5, like where it's, what would this Star Trek be? Like DEFCON? I don't know what that is.
I've never understood DEFCONs.
Yeah. I think one's the worst, right?
Okay. So we're like DEFCON 3, like where it's like you're on alert.
Yeah.
Yellow alert, maybe like caution. The caution light is going. It's not like mission critical, but the caution light is up where it's like, you're in a tougher spot here. But realistically, if you win the next one, you split at home. Like if Edmonton would have won this game and then let's say they lose the next one and it ends up 2-2 going back to Edmonton for best of 3, we're like, that's okay.
Yeah.
They're in a good spot, right? Like we're all happy with that. And it's the same thing here. Like if you win the next one, well, then you're fine, right? You're good. You're the best of 3 heading back to Edmonton at home. Now, if you lose the next one, then it's clearly mission critical, but 5. So you're at level 5. Concerned? Yes. Rightfully so. They're down in the series, but not panicking. Not yet.
DEFCON 5 says normal readiness, no heightened threat level.
Yeah. So that's the least amount.
Yeah.
Right?
And DEFCON 1 is nuclear war is imminent or has already begun. So let's hope we don't see DEFCON 1 in our lifetime here. Gage, where are you at on this?
I'm the same as Cass.
Yeah.
I think it's a 5. Kind of the same as the Dallas series, right? Games 1 and 2. You win that. Connor McDavid, I believe he put it, look, you lose the first, but you win second, then you come home. Same type of situation here. So they lost the first there. They win the second coming home. They're feeling good about themselves. While if the Oilers do go ahead and win game 4, then the Florida Panthers think, oh my gosh, we're going back. They could take a stranglehold. What those types of things. So if you actually really think about it, 2 good teams, it's 2-1 with a chance to go 2-2 coming back for game 5. You have a goaltender with historic numbers going into game 4. Five's a good number for me.
Let's continue on this sort of officiating theme just by talking about a bunch of power plays in the first. Cass, you think that favors one team or the other by not being 5-on-5 more? I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer to that.
Normally, I would have said, the Panthers' power play at home hadn't been great, and the Oilers' power play on the road had been pretty good. And it was like, probably favors Edmonton a little bit here. But I think the manner in which the penalties happened and just the emotions of the Edmonton Oilers got away from them. So, but where I think it did hurt them was just no one else on the team was able to get into a rhythm.
Just your killers.
Because it's like, you're either, even your killers, it's like you're just killing, right? Like that's all your
point. You're not,
you're just killing. You're not hitting. You're not forechecking. You're not like you're killing. And for the guys that are on the power play, they're on the power play. They're in power play mode, which is okay. But then your other guys, again, they're not playing, right? Like they're not on trying to play offense. They're not on being able to be in the forecheck and be physical. So just that scale, that number of penalties, I think is bad for everybody, and bad for everybody on both sides. But Edmonton just reacted to it way more poorly than Florida did.
Gage, so yesterday on the power play, they did go to 2 D-men after it had been struggling. Your thoughts on that move in general, getting Wallman out there with Bouchard and taking Nuge off the top unit for a bit?
The first, when I was watching it, they're just worried about shorthanded goals.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I went, Mom, Wallman's got a good shot.
Yeah.
I think it was, and it might have been an effort to simplify the power play a little bit with a more emphasis on just trying to get pucks through. Like, look, the goals that were scored, the goal that was scored was just a simple shot, kind of a shot pass with a guy in front with some time to do something, right? It looked like they were trying to get a little bit too technical to me. Whereas you watch the Panthers power play and it looks it's simplified. You know, they're just trying to get pucks through. And then when they can get turnovers, get guys running, that's when things open up.
Cash, you think anything with the power play going 2D just because Nugent Hopkins was a little bit banged up? He didn't practice today either. Didn't skate today. What did you think of Nuge in general? And do you think maybe that factored into the decision to go to 2D?
Well, it absolutely factors into the decision. I think it's got to be wrist or hand or shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Not taking draws. If he's not in the PP, it probably means he can't rifle the puck, can't really step into it, can't lean into it. How severe, we don't know, obviously. But that's going to factor into it, where you'd rather have somebody that is healthy. If someone that's healthy at 95% is better than RNH at 60% on the power play, you got to go with the guy that's healthy. So it doesn't surprise me. And we'll have to see. That's going to be ongoing here heading into Game 4 is not just is Nuge going to be available, but what type of Nuge is going to be available.
We haven't talked about it yet, but they're really missing Zach Hyman right now. Hey, I think they're missing Zach Hyman.
Huge, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, it's top 6. You take someone out of the Panthers' top 6, it's a massive.
But also his physicality in this series right now.
So needed.
And Hyman isn't a guy who would get overly sucked in to what the Panthers are doing. Like, he would just go about his business, crushing people and skating away.
He would that's what I mean. The Oilers have to play that style of game where Zach Hyman, he blows someone up, but then he gets the hack or the whack or the punch to the back of the head and draws the penalty because guys are mad. Initiate. If I'm the coaching staff of the Edmonton Oilers, I'm going, guys, we have to start initiating, right? We're on the back foot here. We're always retaliating here. If that involves getting the puck deep and getting some in good spots, laying some licks on D, what have you. But a more simplified game is needed here.
Let's get to your number cruncher segment for our partners over at Play Alberta. If you've not yet downloaded the Play Alberta app, please do. And every day we've got a tab right there on Play Alberta. They have odds boost, they have daily specials, and they're right under that. Next up is the EST specials. And we've got 4 bets already up over there, including this Jays play of the day, which is plus 1510. It's early week CFL parlay. Lions minus 2.5 points, Riders minus 3.5 points, Alouettes and Stamps to both win plus 1510. So if you want to get nuts, you can get nuts on that one. And Dusty's play of the day, Edmonton Oilers to win this series. It was plus 210. We've had it boosted to plus 280. So that's the one that you want to hop on right now. And Lock Shot partner parlay that we put on last hour, Canada to win versus Ivory Coast and the San Francisco Giants to win against the Rockies plus 230 tonight. The numbers game is this, boys. Because some people have been talking about it. Would you go to Pickard in Game 4? We have to remember these numbers. Stuart Skinner in Game 4s, he stopped 169 of 177 shots, a .955 save percentage, 8.38 goals saved above expected. However you want to factor that in, that's a good number. 2 shutouts, and he's 6-0. So Stuart Skinner gets the net in Game 4. Cass, do you think there would have been any even inkling from the coaching staff to not go back to Skinner with what he's done in Games 4 through 7?
Nope, and what he's done, the last 2 series, like, what? Like, no. Sorry, Chief Andy, but no, not gonna happen.
I try to understand the Skinner haters from time to time. There's more, there's some that are just, he could win 4 straight cups and they still wouldn't like the guy. But like in this one, your team with Skinner between the pipes, I don't know if it was for all 2, but they're 18-2 in their last 20 games, 4 through 7.
Yeah.
And Skinner has been a huge part of that. He has all-time numbers in game fours. He bounces back well. I don't know why you would even consider not going to him.
I don't understand it. So when you look at Bobrovsky, he plays a certain way. He's a very good goal. He's a $10 million goaltender, right? But the defensive structure of his team allows him to play that way too. You know, if the fact that he can get out to above the top of the crease that's the confidence that not only he has in himself, but the confidence he has that his teammates aren't going to allow that seam pass for a tap in back door because no one's there, right? Like this is they're a very good cohesive defensive team in their own zone when a shot's coming on net, right? And when the Oilers are playing well, it's the same thing with Stuart Skinner. When he has that confidence in his teammates to do things, like you said, Cass, and probably the reason why he started sitting back in his net was, gosh, no one's covering anyone here. I got to guard against these backdoor things because guys are open all over the place. So, yeah, I don't understand this the Skinner hate when you lay out the numbers in games that really matter. They are quite good.
Well, and from the beginning of last year's Stanley Cup final through this year's Stanley Cup final, going into last night's game, Bobrovsky and Skinner had the same save percentage over the two finals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's getting game 4. We'll see how game 4 goes, but he's been really good in game 4s. So I think you probably should give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt that he and the team in front of him have been very good in game 4s and they'll have to be good in game 4s again. Cass, do you have time at all for a Stetcher-Klingberg swap if it happens?
Yeah, I do, I think. Klingberg has struggled the last 2 games. And, I know, yes, there's part of it that wasn't his fault, spinning off of Barkov and the holding, running into the official, but he hasn't been great. He hasn't been nearly as effective in this series as he was in the last one. So I'm kind of tempted a little bit to throw Stetcher in and to see how he fares. Now, the challenge with that is like Stetcher's not a huge guy, but he does have his moments of being physical. So yeah, I have time for that discussion. I kind of get to the point where I would understand if they do put Stetcher in, but I would also understand if they don't, because even if Klingberg hasn't been great, like overall his play in the playoffs has been much, much, much more positive than negative. So I get kind of just going back and saying, okay, we're sticking with Klingberg. But if they were to switch to Stetcher, who was really good when he was in the lineup, I understand that too. So it's like I'm here for that discussion. And if that's what the organization decides, I won't decry it and be like, oh, what a horrible, bad decision. But I also won't do the same if Klingberg stays in, unless Klingberg stays in and plays terribly and the Oilers lose, then we'll shred it to pieces.
What'd you say this morning, Gager? You said stick with Klingberg?
Yeah, just the possibilities of moving the puck, like he moves the puck better than Stetcher does. And I know it hasn't really materialized over the last couple games, but I mean, Nurse plays his best hockey when he's with Stetcher. I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, I mean, that's a fact. And you've seen coaches in past just getting fresh legs in there, right? And Stetcher's not going to. I don't think the magnitude of the situation's too big for him. He's going to go in there and play well as he was before he came out of the lineup, before Matthias came back in. So I'm wondering more if you might see Jeff Skinner.
Really? For who? Like if Nuge can't go, you see Skinner, or you take somebody else up.
Yeah,
I don't know about Skinner versus the Panthers, man.
Yeah.
Cass, what say you? He does score.
I don't know. But if we're looking at having a Nuge that can't play on the power play because he's too banged up to go.
I mean, you can put Kane there too, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like in terms of overall health, not saying just on the power play, but like of going with Jeff Skinner instead of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, where it's like if Nuge is too banged up to take draws, if he's too banged up to play in the power play, yeah, I think you got to think about Jeff Skinner.
They're all
And maybe
fun
he'll surprise
conversations
us.
to have right now.
Yeah.
Line up, we're moving things around. Such a good time. All right, EST Afternoons is going to be coming up next. That'll go from 1 until 3 right here on TuneIn and iHeartRadio and EdmontonSportsTalk.com. And, of course, on YouTube. Make sure you turn on autoplay. As always, Two Guys and a Goalie brought to you by GS Construction. If you are looking for work, GS Construction is hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction today. What's coming up on EST Afternoons, Gager?
Well, we're going to discuss if Stetcher should be in the lineup for sure, who should play net, Skinner or Pickard. Heat and Smoke at 140. We'll go inside the numbers at 220. We'll have John Haji to his friends from 3 Down Nation.
From 3 Down Nation.
And tee up the big show with Reed and Jay.
Reed and Jay, of course, from 3 until 6 today as well. That is going to do it for Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by the crew over at GS Construction, where we said multiple times they are always hiring. So if you're looking for a gig, reach on out, visit their website at Indeed, their page at Indeed.ca or their website, www.gsconstruction.ca. All right, that's going to do it for Two Guys and Goalie. I'll talk to you on the Nielsen Show tomorrow morning. We'll be back together on Thursday at noon as well. And Gage will be staying in that seat for the upcoming EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas, who lost to YouTube Trev and Tecmo today, so he's probably going to be in a great mood.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Gage. That's a tough one.
Takes like 20 minutes for him to get going.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.